Hi YouTube, this is We All Juggle Knives with the Cold Steel FinnHawk. Alright, and according to Cold Steel, they've based this on a Finnish puukko type of knife. The blade length is 4 inches. It is 4116 German stainless steel. The handle is polypropylene coated with rubber. Provides an excellent grip, and this has a Scandi type of grind. And as you can see from the marked up blade, I have tested this out pretty well, and I do have some footage of that later in the video. Right, but the sheath on this, it's Secure X polymer. Right, it looks similar to the sheath on a Mora, and I will show you that in detail as well. Now the weight on this is listed as 5.1 ounces on the Cold Steel website, but I've seen lower figures on other websites. Okay, so possibly they're including the sheath on that figure. And here is some footage of me pushing it through wood, drawing it down, piece of wood, making some shavings. And this footage is sped up just because, I'm not trying to make you watch an hour of making shavings. But I did want you to see the highlight reel of, testing out this knife, the edge. This knife comes extremely sharp. Okay, those are my cut-proof or anti-cut gloves because, Cold Steel is known for very sharp knives. And then when you add that to the Scandi grind, which pretty sure most of you know, that thing can, you got to be careful. Let's put it that way. Use caution with that very sharp edge. Now, of course, you can do many other things with a knife like this, anything from cutting through organic matter, from food preparation or preparing game. You can also cut cordage, you can drill divots, pretty much camp chores. However, pushing it through this gnarly ass firewood that, I just had this wood left over from batoning from other videos, and some of it's pretty tough, so this, compared to food prep or something, I just thought that would be a much better test of the edge or demo. And you see my big pile of shavings there. The knife did pretty well. The blade looks beat up, but it was still going through. After a substantial period of time, it was still sharp. And when a knife comes this sharp, it's a lot easier to resharpen. All right, if you know what I mean. Now, sometimes people ask, how long will the edge last? Can you cut down trees with it and it'll always be sharp? No, dude, no. With any bushcraft knife, if that's what you want to use it for, you're eventually going to have to resharpen it, right? But from what I've heard of this steel, it's easy to resharpen. Some people don't like that steel, but I've actually spoken to someone who works at the German factory that makes the steel. He spoke to me, and he basically swore by it. So, do your own research and make your own decision on that steel. I'm fine with that steel. All right, they're giving you a closer look at the grind, the edge, the handle. Right, I beat this knife up pretty well. Right, now one thing I was also testing, just besides how it can sink into the wood, is what type of grip that handle gave. It actually gives an excellent grip. The rubber coating around the polymer, it's really grippy because those gloves that I have, they don't really have much grip. In fact, if I use those gloves on just like a wooden handle knife, I pretty much have to wrap the handle before using it because those gloves will slip on wooden handle scales. But the gloves didn't slip at all on this on the rubber coated handle here, so I have to say it gave a better grip than a lot of my Mora knives handles give. Now the blade is 4 inches long, and this is kind of the fixed blade companion to their folder, which is the Finn Wolf, which I did a tabletop review of. I'll include that link. Here is the sheath that you get, and the sheath is pretty much very similar to a Mora sheath. I would describe it as cheap but effective, extremely light in weight. It's fitted to the knife. It holds it in. There is no rattle. It holds it securely. You can deploy by pushing off with your thumb. like so. So if you like the sheath, I think it depends if you like the sheath on a Mora knife. If you like that type of sheath, then you will like this. I like it for the price, given that this is around $20 sometimes. I'll include that link. This really is a pretty nice knife for the price. All right, check out the competition. All right, those are all the knives in the sheath. I've got knives from Finland, Sweden, Norway. All right, let's try to go through these. We got a Hella knife, starting from the left. We got Hultafors, then the Cold Steel, then two Moras, and then next to that is a Martini Carbonox and a Martini Timberjack. All right, and the smaller Mora is a Craft line. I forget what they call that larger Mora. Right, and the Hultafors is the heavy duty. All right, and the Hella knife, I think that was the Hella Harding knife. That was a gift from one of my Norwegian subscribers. Yeah, and all these knives are pretty awesome, and most of these are budget knives too, except for that Hella knife, which is a little pricey, and that Carbonox I think was around 40. All right, but that Timberjack, I think you can get it for 12 to 15. The Craft line, I think you can get for 10. But overall, these are beautiful and functional knives. Knives from that part of the world, I admire their designs very much. So how does the Cold Steel stack up against this tough competition? It actually stacks up pretty well. It's a very, very good idea for Cold Steel to try and get in on this market, because Mora has dominated. They've had things to themselves for a long time, except for, Martini competing with them and a few others, but I can definitely see why Cold Steel wants a piece of that action. Now, is there any reason to get this instead of a Mora? Not really, except for availability. You might be able to find this easier in US stores. And like I said, the handle does give a better grip than some of my Mora's handles. All right. Also, this has a 90-degree angle on the spine. Okay, I want to make that clear. That's a very common question, because some bushcrafters have that as like a basic requirement. So it does have that 90-degree angle on the spine. But overall, it's a great knife for between $20 to $25. A lot of people are going to buy this because at this price, why the heck not? You can always use another camp knife. A lot of people have gotten into Cold Steel because of their more tactical type stuff, but those people, a lot of them will eventually go into bushcrafting or just, want a camp knife. And because they already have some Cold Steels, they know they come pretty dang sharp. And, they have trust in that company, so they'll move to this. Alright YouTube, this has been We All Juggle Knives. Hope you enjoyed seeing this knife. I'm out.